What's up, everyone? Alex Rossman here, and welcome to Rossman Radio, the social first podcast where founders and industry leaders stop pretending everything's amazing, and they tell the real stories, the wins, the failures, the why did I even start this moments, all of it. Most importantly, we break down the marketing strategies that are actually working for them today, not the ones some guru made up in a hotel conference room in 2016. So if you want real-world growth strategies told by the ones who have scaled multi-million-dollar brands, just listen.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us here at Rossman Radio. Today, we have Elizabeth Sable, owner of Action Builders, joining us today to talk all things business related and how she is utilizing and enhancing her business with different tools like AI with other marketing areas as well. So Elizabeth, so great to have you today. So I'm going to pass it off to you here to give a quick introduction about yourself.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me join you today. I'm the owner of Action Builders. We're a design build firm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, strictly residential, and we really specialize in doing additions and whole house renovations. So we can take it from someone kind of contacting us with that initial consultation all the way through construction. And I found that the employees that work for us that really enjoy the business and enjoy this type, like that's the best type. We have a lot of those types of employees, which obviously helps makes us successful overall.
Awesome. So can you start by giving us a quick overview about what makes Action Builders unique in the Pittsburgh renovation space?
I think obviously our forte is the fact of just the length of time that we've been doing it in the Pittsburgh market. A lot of the guys, like our main guys, have been doing this with Action Builders for 20, 25 years at this point. And I've been with the company almost 15. And so there's just a lot of experience, and renovation truly is a market that you have to do it to learn from it. And especially when you're familiar with the types of houses and things. So I think that really makes Action Builders different. I also think that passion that our employees have, I think that makes a big difference. And I also think just our ability to make it a very seamless process for the homeowners from start to finish. Their renovation is stressful enough. You don't need to be chasing people down and managing projects yourself. And so we really try to take a lot of that management and that stress off of people during the renovation, and kind of be able to, obviously there's still challenges, but the fact that we can take it from start to finish, I think can make it a little easier for them.
Awesome. And I know that you recently, or I shouldn't say recently, but have taken leadership of Action Builders here as the owner. And you've been with Action Builders since 2012, correct?
Correct. So I started out, the original owner, he started Action Builders in 91, and we were a large scale framing contractor, ran into that renovation space at residential around 2000. And then I joined the team in 2012. And when I did, I think I was able to really just help him take it up a notch, where he really had the structural ability and the construction background, but I had more of that design touch, obviously, and also was able to work with the customers. Residential renovation work is really intimate and really hand in hand with people. And so you almost need somebody on the team. And so I was able to join onto that. And then, yes, I took ownership in 2023. That has been a super fun ride, but obviously challenges that I didn't expect, like putting a team together and getting a team to work together is one of the hardest things I've ever done. But right now I have a really great team. And so it's kind of nice to see, it is nice to see the fruits of your labor over time as well.
Yeah. Did anything specifically inspire that transition for you to ownership? And how has, you just mentioned right there, building a team, how has your leadership evolved since taking ownership?
Sure. So the previous owner wanted to retire. So that was essentially the transition. It was really important to both of us that because we had people that had been with the company for so long, we really wanted to make sure that the company had that more seamless transition. you don't want to have a lot of turn of employees and things like that. So our core group really did stay the same. And so that was good that we accomplished that goal. And then my leadership since then, when you first take on a company, you think you know what you're doing, and you never do, but you just you have to fake it till you make it. And so I already knew the previous owner truly, like, I joke, but I learned so much from him just driving in his truck with him around to the job sites every week. And he pounded just a lot of like core basic information. Here's my cat for you. Some basic information into me through the years of just like how to run a construction business. And then I think I bring the talent of, I work well with people. And I think that I'm able to see people like their strengths and put them in the right positions that they're able to be successful in. And then I use my knowledge and my experience to mentor them to again, make them like the best, best in their position, because the more I can dump my brain into them, the better, because that, again, back to that point of like, you have to do it to know what you're talking about, or to learn in this industry. I try to like tell them my mistakes along the way too.
I think having that transparency about being open and real about what you've done and the trial and error you've been able to come forth and push through is inspiring, and also helps the team realize, all right, we're all real people.
It's human.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I joke, and I like hate that this is a joke, but it is a joke, but we're all going to make mistakes. Just please try not to make them expensive mistakes. And because I can't be mad. We're all juggling so much, and like renovation, it has so many details to it, and you might go into it and think that you have all these details wrapped up in a pretty bow, and then things change along the way. And so there's always things to work through. And so just kind of being able to handle those things along the way is important.
And how has that approach about, identifying your team and the internal processes, how has that also helped improve your customer experience?
So sorry. Yes. Okay. So the customer experience, I think, is really important to me, and bringing the mentorship to my employees and putting them in the right positions has really set that customer experience up for like continued improvement. And when I say continued improvement, we are trying to continue every day to make this process better. And one of my two topics that I continue to tell my team is communication, education. You have to educate the customer, and you have to communicate with them. And when you're doing those two things, and I think that's something that goes across any industry, when you're educating them and when you're communicating with the customers have a better experience. And so I think like the combination of, I have competent employees in correct positions with that like idea of like that, this is our motto. We also are to continue that customer experience portion of it, back to that point of like, I've been doing this since 2012, and from where I walked into it to where it is today, it's totally different and much improved since then, but there's still a lot to go. And the programs and software has changed so much, just technology has changed so much since that point as well. And so I am trying to implement a lot of that back, into our processes to help improve that customer experience, because I think that's a big growth opportunity for a lot of companies too.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. And kind of segueing here into talking about more of your customers and homeowners. As we know, there's so much education out there nowadays. People have so many resources at the tip of their fingers, just basically where they can go into ChatGPT and look up things. So we know that homeowners today are doing a lot more self-education before even reaching out and getting to you, often using things like Google or ChatGPT. How has that changed how you communicate and educate with potential clients?
It's constantly changing, but I've found that to combat that is how I'll phrase it. I've tried to add my education to that pile. And so my hope is that homeowners that are looking for this advice in the Pittsburgh market for renovations, for the types of things that we do, that they're coming and they're seeing my content to explain to them the process, because it is not all rainbows and butterflies. And so I try to kind of like lay things out, and honestly, it's the first time most people do it. It's usually the only time people do a huge project like this. And so just like knowing the steps along the way. And so I try to combat that Google. And honestly, that Google's been an issue forever. And I think ChatGPT is kind of like added to that.
Yeah.
We don't have the Encyclopedia Britannica anymore. That's like the know all be all. Like we have so much information. But I think that that's also why a customer would hire Action Builders, is we help a customer go through that information and figure out like what makes the most sense for their project. Just because they're reading this online doesn't make sense for their particular application. Like what's the best design decision for them? And so we just kind of helping them sift through that information is also how we're trying to combat that too with that education on our end.
Yeah, I think that's great. And to kind of dive just like a little bit deeper into that same sentiment, how do you create that educational content that's both informing, but also helps them trust your experience? Because the content is like, you're creating it to get education, but it's also trusting. So how do you go about that?
I think when people talk about what they do, they communicate their experience in that way. And so someone that has never built an addition project, never designed an addition project, has never done something like that, they're going to go online and try to create a YouTube, video that doesn't communicate that education. And so when I'm communicating about projects in the video content that I'm creating, I'm talking about real life projects that we're doing, we have done, challenges that we faced, common things that, because like Pittsburgh architecture, there's a lot of very standard kind of like architecture that you see in certain pockets of the city. And so like just kind of talking through our experience with like in my educational content, I think communicates that experience.
Yeah.
And then also when you're open and honest about mistakes that you've made or things you would have done differently or challenges that you faced, I think also communicates that experience and it shows paints a truer picture for the homeowner of what to expect in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's great. I think transparency is just a huge area of business that not everyone always comes forth with. So having that, I think definitely allows that angle of trust to open up as well.
Well, and I think that comes back to just being like a basic human.
Sure.
And, like to get people to like you, you have to be you. And so like to get people to choose Action Builders, they have to understand that like renovation's hard and like I'm going to help them through it. But like there's going to be like road bumps and we're going to all work together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of going more into the ChatGPT and AI portion of it as well, how do you see AI influencing the remodeling industry and the way that homeowners are going to make decisions about who they work with?
I think you can kind of go two directions in that answer. The first one being just from a design perspective, I have had numerous customers create an image of the addition they want. They submit to ChatGPT a picture of their house and they say, I want to put this kind of in my conversations with them, it takes a couple reiterations to get it correct, but it helps actually communicate to me, like, this is what I'm looking for. And so I think that from a design perspective, I think eventually, and it already is getting there, just being able to see things ahead of time is going to help homeowners tremendously, because some of us are fine putting finishes and fixtures and floor plans together, but just seeing that visual, I think, helps everyone. So that I think is great. From just being able to find companies, I think that that's also where my thinking is back to creating that educational content. And with ChatGPT and even Google, like I've been creating educational blogs for years just to like generate Google. And so now I'm like continuing that with ChatGPT. It's interesting to me when you talk to marketing companies, their knowledge of ChatGPT, everybody kind of gives you the same answer, like it's so new. But I just think it's a learning curve. But in my mind, if I'm creating educational content that people are looking for, ChatGPT and Google are going to like it. That's my method.
Oh yeah. And I think that content, like you keep going back to the content, and I think that's so relevant because it's so much a huge piece of the puzzle nowadays. Even beyond, we haven't really touched on it, but like TikTok even and Instagram, with the ability now that Instagram can be indexed and that search can now feed into Google. Like that is huge, where people are going to type that in and search it. So video plays a big role in your marketing. You shared that you create a lot of that content that's educational, videos of how that's going. And how has that content then helped, beyond educating people, but help tell your story and connect with homeowners too?
people research these kind of projects for years.
Yeah.
And so I think that just like having that content out there allows them to research it for that time period. And so like, over the time of that, they're like, oh, we really should think about putting a kitchen addition on. And then like, an ad pops up for Action Builders at some point. But like seeing that content, I think that repetitiveness helps them make that decision over the time period and gives them that like drip marketing that you need in a project like this.
Absolutely. And I know you've really talked about we've touched on it a few times now, but really talking about having that human experience in the process and journey of working with a client. How do you approach not only social media, because I know we've talked a lot about your social and your content, but digital marketing as a whole? If you're looking at your marketing, how do you approach that to make sure that your online presence, whether it's someone typing in an SEO and searching, or going in and looking at you from like maybe a review on another review channel, how do you make sure that that really reflects your brand and the quality of your team's work?
I mean, it's a constant thing. You just have to just be on top of it. I also think that having a variety of content out there is how you kind of show that human presence of yourself. You can't just have, I don't know what they would call, but like stock images, I guess. But by showing, your face, by showing that your workers and your real life kind of day to day, I think shows that human presence to people so that they get a more sense of what they would experience, in their journey with Action Builders.
Great. And also, like, looking ahead, how do you see tools like AI, search, and social media continue to change the way people find and also choose renovation companies like Action Builders?
I feel like you're asking me a futuristic question, and I feel like I'm still catching up to ChatGPT. So I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question to. But I mean, I just could see it continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
And that I think is actually probably my answer to that is like, we don't know how it's going to continue to change. And that I think is what the interesting thing is about it.
Yeah.
But I think what's important to me, and we can replace people and robots all over the place, but I think that you're always going to need a human presence in the renovation market.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have an emotional experience with a residential renovation for people. It's their home. And I think having that human element will never go away, so I'm thankful that there's that. My industry needs me at some point.
I think with even in the home renovation space, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people chat through when it comes to these AI tools, is that at the end of the day, there's always going to have to be a human person. Yeah, like there's always going to have to be, and you always hear those things where people talk about jobs replacing AI or AI replacing jobs. And I don't always necessarily think that's true. And maybe you have a different opinion, but it's more about the people that are using AI, right? It's how your business is adopting it and how your business is adopting AI to use it. I think in the renovation space, and you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably helping you speed up how you can visualize some of the elements and rooms and be able to come to the conversation with a client a little bit quicker with, hey, this is how it might look.
100% actually agree with you, because I think that just that like design and communication, we can really shrink that down. And that's how, in my opinion, AI should be used across industries, is making yourself more efficient so that your talented employees aren't sitting there like typing numbers into a spreadsheet or something repetitive. They're able to like spend their time where their brains are most needed. And so I think that like kind of thinking of it that way is a smart way to look at it.
Absolutely. What can be automated?
Yeah.
What are the redundant tasks? And what are the things that someone should actually be spending their time curating and thinking and just even creating? So,
and I actually think like there's so much data out there nowadays. I mean, every meeting that we attend, there's meeting notes, there's like recordings, and like, so I think actually AI helps in that regards, where it almost helps you condense that data and actually take out what are the key points to it, so that you're not, I mean, do we actually all read our meeting notes? I don't know. I don't.
Well, I think it's more of like, and not to go into this tangent, but I think it's more of like, they're there.
Yes.
You don't have to have someone who is recording meeting notes anymore. That was a real thing people did.
Yes, true.
Whereas now it's like, you're like, okay, if I do actually want to go back, I know that it's being recorded, but for the most part, maybe I don't need it,
Yes, that's true, but it's there if you need
Yes.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I actually only have one question left for you today.
Sure.
And that is, what's one piece of advice you'd share with other business owners looking to either improve their processes or customer experience?
To improve their processes or their customer experience, I would say just like continue to look at the pain points. I mean, usually your customers are telling you where their pain point is. Whenever they get grumpy. So like if there's something or something that takes slower in the process, because my process, for example, is very, very long, where some buying processes are much shorter, but I have multiple steps in mine. And so I do see steps that, they slow down. And so I think my advice is like really try to analyze those processes along the way. It's actually something I'm in the process of doing right now. My salesperson is on maternity leave, which I am jumping back into that sales role for a couple months. And it's really giving me a chance to refine some of those processes, bring like some automation into it, do some automatic scheduling emails, things like that to like really make her job much more efficient when she comes back. And then I'm just going to kind of like keep going down the line and keep trying to make some of those processes. But I just think look at your pain points and see how you can, really laser in on where you can fix things.
Awesome. That's great advice. And I think that's definitely something people can take away. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Rossman Radio. It's been great to have you and talk to you about these different areas of your business. I wish you all the success. And thank you again, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.